Hey, you probably won't believe this, but your next customer has already decided if they're going to buy from you way before they went on a test drive or you told them your best price. How? Well, it's really simple. They saw your reviews. They were shopping around and they read all of the 1-star and 3-star horror stories. They saw the dealer with the 4.9 and noticed they never responded even when the review praised their service. What will they find when they find you? If you could really see, you'd notice that most dealers don't lose nearly as many deals when the customer says they want a better price as when they check out your reviews and decide to pass before ever walking into the showroom. The truth is, your reputation is either closing deals before your salesperson ever says hello or killing them before you ever get the chance to say anything. Today, we're talking about how to flip that script, how to stop taking the lazy approach to reviews, and what the best dealers in the country do to turn reviews into revenue. This is Follow the Money. Follow the Money is brought to you by Cars Commerce, empowering local dealerships with solutions to simplify and scale their businesses. They're judging you, specifically your customers. They're judging you based on your online reputation. And most dealers are failing the test before they ever knew that the test even started. Friends, seriously, you think your ad, your fancy digital retailing process, or your super low price is what's closing the deal? Trust me, my friends, it's not. You see, the real enemy is the one you never ever see coming, because the real battle is fought online before the customer ever comes into the dealership. Friends, it's being fought on Google, on DealerRater, and in every response you post for every single review. That should be your silver bullet. Friends, if we've never met before, my name is Frank J. Lopes. I'm your host and the president of Strong 30 Automotive, where we help dealers crush their goals with the best marketing, advertising, and sales training. And today, I'm joined by Jamie Oldershaw, Vice President of Customer Experience at Cars Commerce, the man who helped invent the dealer review game. This episode will show you how to stop losing deals you never even knew you were fighting for, and how to start closing them before your customer ever walks in. Let's get into it right now. Jamie, my friend, it's great to have you on the show. Always great to see you. We've known each other for years. Both of us are believers when it comes to how important online reputation and online reviews are. Jamie, dive into that a little bit. What made it so that you understood, or so that you became a believer? I don't want to turn this into a religious show. It's starting to sound like one, right? But what made you a believer in the importance and in the strength of online reputation?
Well, I think, Frank, first of all, great to be here. Thanks for having me, and good to see you again. Customer feedback has always been a critical component of business continuity, how businesses get better, how they learn from mistakes, how they celebrate their accomplishments. And we knew early on that automotive was an industry where trust is absolutely critical in making sure that customers have the information that they need before they walk into the dealership to make sure that they're doing business with a dealer that they feel comfortable with, and that ultimately, hopefully they can find someone at the dealership ahead of time that they can work with as well. So they walk in and ask to do business with that person. So for us, customer feedback and making sure that as a dealership, you're empowered to not only be able to monitor feedback, but also have tools to better collect the content and then respond. So you have that ongoing communication with your customer. Those are sort of the three pillars of critical and successful reputation management initiatives. So with automotive, it's more critical than ever, especially in today's environment. The dealers are following best practices and making sure that they're out there collecting feedback and getting better and leveraging it to really differentiate their operations in their market.
Let me ask you this, Jamie. I think I know the answer that you're going to give, but I'm going to ask the question anyway, because the audience can't read my mind. They need to hear the answer. What do you think is the biggest mistake that you see dealers still making when it comes to reviews? And I want to go even a little bit deeper in here. The biggest mistake that they're making when it comes to reviews and also to review responses.
Well, let's start with the reviews themselves, because the responses are important. But if you're not paying attention, first and foremost, then you're not going to be responding. So the biggest problem or issue that we see with dealers today is that many of them still aren't paying attention. They're not paying attention to what customers are saying about them. They're either ignoring it, or they're not putting themselves in the shoes of their customer and Googling their dealership's name and seeing what pops up on the first page of search engine results. So a lot of dealers are just sort of blissfully ignorant to what consumers are saying about their business. I think it's those dealers that are missing the opportunity to get better and to leverage the great feedback that the good dealers often get, and very much deservedly so. Leverage that to bring new customers through the door. So first and foremost, we would advise dealers to make sure you're paying attention and Google your dealership's name and put yourselves in the shoes of a consumer, see what pops up, and make sure that you're actively reading and monitoring and getting alerts set up to receive reviews from customers that have left feedback for you on those platforms. On the response side, that's just all part of being a good local business and ensuring that you're communicating with your customers. If a consumer leaves a review, whether it's positive or negative, to just write a simple response that says, "Thank you for your feedback. We're so glad to hear that Frank treated you well," etc. That means a lot to the consumer. That you actually read their feedback and that you took the time to respond. And so I think a lot of dealers underestimate the power of that method of communication that most of the platforms offer to dealers, which is the ability to respond to feedback that they get on our platform. So I think that's a critical component. Make sure that you're monitoring and you have, and second, when you get that feedback, make sure that you're taking the time out of your day to respond, even if it's just a sentence or two. It does mean a lot to the consumers to know that you're paying attention because they took the time to share feedback on you. And so it's nice to see that effort is reciprocated.
Jamie, we've known each other a long time, and we've had this conversation many, many times. And to be honest, I want to have it again, to where I cannot understand. It just does not compute in my brain how a dealer would not be able to see the importance in responding to every single review, not just the bad ones, not just the good ones, every single one. To me, it is just so common sense that if somebody either gives you a compliment or gives you criticism, that you should, at a minimum, you should at least thank them for their feedback and respond. Even if you want to respond very humbly, no problem. Respond to the compliment and respond to the criticism as well. Just think about if the two of us were someplace and we ran into each other and you were to say something to me like, "Frank, man, I see how great the show is going, Follow the Money, it's fantastic and everything. I watch it every week when it's on. I love it." And I just stood there like it would be so damn awkward. You would say, "What's wrong with you? Are you okay? Can you not hear? No, did something happen? Did you hit your head? What in the world's going on over here?" But reviews go unanswered over and over and over again. Is there a stat that you have of the percentage of reviews that actually get answered, that get responded to?
Yeah, it's about 40%, Frank. And so it is, unfortunately, it's not the majority of reviews or even of dealers that are responding to reviews. There's still at least 60% are not getting responded to, both in terms of the percentage of dealers that aren't responding and reviews in general that aren't being responded to. You're right. I think your analogy is spot on. You don't want to say borderline rude, but it's a little awkward if you take the time to really put together a nice positive review for a dealership and then you don't get a response. And it's even worse if you write a negative review and a dealership doesn't respond to you. And so that's why I think those dealers that take the time to respond, even if it's just a sentence or two, to the positive reviews is so critical. A negative review, even more important. I think if you don't have the time to respond to all of your reviews, at least please respond to negative reviews, because it shows not just the customer that had the experience, that you care and that you want to make it better, but it's also so critical, Frank, for customers who are deciding whether or not to do business with you. And 71% of customers will not do business with a dealership that is not actively responding to reviews.
Say that again. What percentage? Say that again, so everybody make sure they heard it.
71% of consumers will not do business with a dealership that is not actively responding to reviews.
Wow.
About 97% of consumers who are reading reviews are also reading the responses to the reviews. To answer your question, is responding important? Yes, because consumers are actively reading those as they're reading the reviews themselves. It really is an extension of the review. But if you're reading reviews of a dealership or a business, and it's just sort of an empty room, you see the reviews, but it's just kind of an echo chamber of customer feedback, that doesn't give the shopper a warm and fuzzy feeling that this is a dealer that's going to be taking care of me, or that cares if I give positive feedback. They're too wrapped up in themselves to care about the customer. In fact, that's exactly the reason why our big annual national awards program, which you're aware of, the Dealer of the Year program, a couple of years ago, we added into our calculation algorithm review response rate. So now if you're going to win Dealer of the Year, it's not just about getting reviews. It also looks at whether or not you're actively replying to those reviews and communicating with your customers, because that's the hallmark of a dealer that deserves to be an award-winning dealer in their market. So it's so important to us as well as a platform that we included it as one of the critical inputs into the Dealer of the Year awards.
You know, Jamie, you jumped ahead about 3 questions, because I was going to ask, what's the most important thing right now? Because it used to be, hey, let's just get the quantity up as high as we possibly can. Then it was, we need to be 4.9. We need to be 4.9 because you can't be 5 because it looks fake. So we got to be 4.9. Then it's, hey, we got to respond. We got to respond. We got to respond. So which one of those is most important right now? From what I hear you saying, all of them are important now. You know, the quantity, the quality to make the score go up, and responding to everyone. Am I thinking right about that?
We want dealers just to be natural and do unto others as you would expect them to do unto you. And I think that applies obviously in automotive, and how you treat your customers and how you differentiate yourself in your market. So it's not just one thing. I think sort of table stakes is at least be monitoring. Second is make sure you have an active collection strategy. And third is just making sure that you're responding. So yeah, I think if you're missing any of those components, it's a 3-legged stool, and things fall out of balance if you're not at least staying on top of all 3 of those things. And so I think it's important to just have a strategy. That last mile of car shopping, as we know, will involve human interaction. There's no technology that's going to be replacing that. And so I think making sure that dealers remember that this is a people business, and so treat it that way, and think about how you treat your people, not only your employees, but also the people who walk into your showroom. They're your guests in your home. And so treat them that way and you'll be okay.
You know, I'm thinking about it right now as we're talking about responding to reviews and how important it is. I'm thinking back around 2013 when I was working with my dealer partners, and I'm saying, you know what, we're just going to respond to all of your reviews right now. Like, I'm going to hire additional staff. We're going to do this. And I remember a lot of dealers looking at me like, you sure you want to do that? Like, why do you want to do that? You're putting this extra work. I'm like, no, this is going to be good for you. This is going to be very important for you, Mr. Dealer. And now, you know, it happens almost every Monday to where someone will call or text like around noon and be like, you know, hey, it's noon. You haven't responded to this review yet. That was left on Saturday. And I'm like, hey, let me give my team a little bit of a chance to catch up. You know, we've got like 300 reviews to answer now between all of our dealer partners just from this past weekend. One of the things I can tell a dealer is asking is, you know, okay, the reviews are great, and I can see that they are definitely going to be valuable. And I spoke in the monologue, you know, opening up the show, talking about how the real battle is actually before the customer ever comes into the showroom. What do you think, Jamie? How can a dealer use reviews to stand out and to win the battle before it's ever even fought?
Dealers underestimate the value of reviews, in that if you are a student of your feedback and you read it and you internalize it and you try to learn from it, you can find your differentiators from the reviews, from the feedback the customers leave about you. It's not going to be necessarily what you think, right? It's not that new fancy coffee machine in your waiting area. It's not that new flat screen TV in the service waiting area. It will be elements of your dealership that may be least expected to you. It could be Frank, that great salesperson who just went above and beyond to provide excellent customer service. But without reading the reviews, you're not going to know what it is that really sets your dealership apart from your competitors. So I think, again, back to paying attention for, the dealers that aren't actively reading reviews miss the most impactful marketing opportunity that they have, which is leveraging the content from those reviews, leveraging them sometimes as testimonials to put in their marketing, but also pulling out themes of specific things that people at the dealership did well, or the way that they were greeted, or something that they liked about the showroom, things like that you can take that are specific to you that can't be replicated somewhere else. And you might find that you have some salespeople that you may not necessarily see this from your interaction with the salesperson, but when they're with a customer, they really shine, and you won't know that unless you're reading the contents.
Jamie, you helped pioneer dealership online reviews with DealerRater going back, 14 years now, I think it is, right? 14,
20
15.
plus, yeah.
20 plus. Okay. I was trying to be kind.
2002, yeah. 20,
I was trying to be kind.
Years.
But you want to add some years to the calendar. Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
So okay, no problem. But Jamie, really, as you know, automotive years, they're kind of like dog years. They accelerate really, really quick. What do you think has changed the most in how customers use reviews today as compared to how they used them 15, 20 years ago?
Probably a couple things. First and foremost, reviews it's an interesting construct because at the end of the day, it's stars and it's text. And from that, you can get a star rating, and then you get a description of the experience. An element that we brought into the mix 8 years ago or so now at this point was the notion of rating the salesperson or the service advisor that you worked with. Again, back to the notion of this is a people business. We realized that consumers were really interested in not just picking the right dealership, but also being able to pre-select the salesperson that they work with. And I think that's one of the differentiators of our platform at Cars Commerce, is that we give consumers the ability to scroll through the great salespeople. And when they're submitting a lead on cars.com, they can select the salesperson that they would like to work with when they walk into the dealership. And I think that provides an even heightened sense of trust and transparency with the consumer. We've seen in the data that it generates higher quality leads and never hesitates to sort of shock and amaze the staff. That always surprises and delights in the dealership. So I think,
Jamie, let me interrupt you really quick, because what you just said, I'm going to testify, right, that it is 100% true, because my own son, when he started off selling cars, I banged it into his head. Hey, your reviews are important. Make sure you ask everybody for reviews. Make sure that you build up your review portfolio, so to say. And he thought I was crazy in the beginning. And then I'm going to say it was maybe 6 weeks in, he had a customer come in with his DealerRater literally printed out saying, I want to work with this kid. Where is this guy? I want to buy a car from this guy. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to testify and say that is 100% the truth, not just me saying it because we're all here and it sounds good during the show, but because actual practice from my own son on how important it is.
Yeah, it's a great example. And I've talked to hundreds of dealers over the years, thousands at this point. Typically rises to the surface as the most impactful way that dealers use our platform to really stick out in the market is to make sure that their salespeople, that their service advisors leverage the platform to build their own brand, not just to support the dealership's brand, but to build their own brand as a professional at that dealership.
Now let's change gears a little bit. Coming away from consumers and from dealers, let's go internally inside of DealerRater, because it's been, almost 8 years now that Cars Commerce acquired DealerRater. So bring us up to speed a little bit. How has Cars Commerce evolved reputation management tools? What are the must-use features right now inside of DealerRater that most dealers are just plain old just ignoring?
I think within the Cars Commerce ecosystem, the DealerRater reputations tools really power Cars .com reputation and the reputation features that are bundled into the marketplace package. So as we continue to evolve as the voice of customer for automotive across the Cars Commerce platform, our tools have evolved with that as well. And so I talked earlier about the ability to rate individual employees has unlocked opportunities across our platform. And one of the most impactful features there is something that we call Salesperson Connect, which is if you're on a cars.com VDP and you're going to submit a lead for a vehicle that you're interested in, we will highlight the top rated employees on that VDP. So you can select the salesperson that you want to do business with. So that's a really impactful feature that we've seen improve lead to close rate by over 2.5 times when someone is selecting the salesperson that they want to do business with before they walk into the dealership and submit that. Another feature that we've had for several years now that dealers love because it just helps them collect a lot of reviews faster is a tool called Review Builder. And that's an automated review collection feature where we hook into the dealership's DMS. We send review solicitations out to all their sales and service customers via email or text. We also have an industry first SMS bot, which is a really unique way of collecting review content. So it leverages the native text client on the consumer's phone and sends them a prompt to start a review right there within the text chain without linking them out to another form. We have essentially AI that helps to sort of prompt various responses with the salesperson they worked with, what type of car did they buy. And it's all done in a very conversational style within the text client that allows us to collect the full review. Just an easy, fun way for someone to submit their feedback on a dealership when they're not actually clicking out to a form, filling out the form. This feels more like they're having a conversation with someone, and that converts a lot higher. So that's a great new feature that we've added over the past couple of years.
Jamie, that's great. I had no idea. Honestly, I had no idea that existed. That's an absolutely excellent feature, especially if it does it in a conversational, like question and answer type of way, and it puts the whole review basically together for the customer. That is absolutely great. Man, you used to give me the 411 on everything super early. Now I feel like I'm late to the party over here. I feel like the thing already started.
Yeah, I'll keep you more in the loop moving forward, Frank. No,
I feel like I just showed up, and dessert's on the table now. Like I missed the whole meal over here. So now's your chance. Is there anything else that has come out or that's coming up that you should be telling your buddy Frank over here that we can tell everybody about right now?
Yeah, well, I think the last piece is on review response. On the response piece, again, is we think that that's really important. So we have auto response that helps dealers reply to those reviews, and it's a mix of human and automated response. And we're now working on an AI tool that allows us to really look at the content of the review. And so we can, at scale now, we can provide a more dynamic response on behalf of the dealer, both for positive and negative content that'll be tested against humans, et cetera. But we're leaning in a little bit to the AI component there to be able to scale up our product and provide an even higher quality response. We're always looking for ways that we can improve the review collection process. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I think we want to make sure that we have the easiest form to submit, that we do it in a really fun way, engages the dealers, engages the consumers, engaging ecosystem of review collection and response to try to get that 40% stat up to 60, 70% in the next couple of years.
We're just about out of time. So, so let's wrap it up with this. Jamie, what do you say to the dealer who knows that their reputation is bad, but they say that they don't have the time, or they think that it's not important to generate reviews or to respond to every single review that's left for them? What do you say to that dealer right now?
If you care about your business and you care about being a competitor, all it takes is 5 minutes a day just to pay attention. And it could be with a morning cup of coffee, or it could be, before you leave for the day, or it could be even at night if you're logging back on to, check in on things. If you give it a couple minutes a day and build it into sort of the muscle of healthy habits, all it takes is one person who can champion it at your dealership. And so it's got to start with one person, the GM, the GSM. And as soon as you start to show people the power of reviews, you see the spark in your salesperson's eye when he realizes that he's just gotten a review that he's been tagged in, and it's a 5-star review, and he gets celebrated at the morning meeting or whatever. That's it. All it takes is just a little spark to get to get interest in reviews flowing. So I think if you're a dealer and you care about ensuring that your business is successful and stands the test of time, it's important to make sure that you're having a conversation with your shoppers. I don't think there are businesses that last that long that don't have some element of review collection, leveraging feedback to drive improvements, et cetera. And again, you don't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be 2 hours a day. It could be 5 minutes. And if you start small, it can make a big difference. And it'll change the culture of your dealership if you let it. You just have to give it a chance.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Jamie, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you, as usual, for sharing your wisdom, your experience on how important this is and how the fight is really way before, the actual fight, the actual battle that goes on is not when the customer's in the showroom. It's when the customer's deciding which showroom it is that they're going to be in. So dealers, general managers, hear me now. If your online presence is whispering, your store should probably be screaming in agony because it's being attacked and it's losing battles that it doesn't even know that it's engaged in. It's almost as if every single shot is coming in from the side and there's no way to protect yourself. You see, but there actually is, because you see, it's your online reputation that talks to your customer before your BDC, your salesperson, ever does. And friends, if you're not managing it, if you're not optimizing it, if you're not promoting it, then you're leaving money on the table. You're handing opportunities to someone else, and all you're doing is just giving away. You're just giving away your money and you're giving away your opportunities. Big thanks to you, Jamie, my friend. Always great to have you here. Always great to talk and everything. Any final words for everybody? Bring us home.
Well, good to be with you, Frank, and I always appreciate having this conversation. And I would say, I agree with you 100%. Treat reviews like an employee, right? And you want to make sure that you're tracking the employee, that you understand what they're doing, because if you're not paying attention to what they're doing, what they're saying, it can be really impactful in a negative way on your business. And on the flip side, really investing in a culture of excellence driven by reviews is transformational to any business, but particularly in automotive, where trust and transparency makes a huge difference. So I'm always here to help and consult, and it's great for Cars Commerce to be a part of the ecosystem where we can help dealers drive that trust and transparency and make sure that the ones who do it right show up best on our platform and get the lion's share of the leads. So it's been a fun conversation. Thanks for having me on, and hope to come back and chat more with you sometime.
Absolutely. So friends, if you haven't yet, please hit the like button, hit the share button, tag everybody in the dealership, tag your dealer, tag your general manager, tag your grandma. I don't care. Tag everybody, right? Make sure that they come and that they watch, because this is very very important. Share this with members of your 20 group, with other dealers that maybe you don't compete with, but other dealers that you're friendly with, right? And like I said, if you're not the decision maker at your dealership, tag the person who is, okay? And check out Cars Commerce and Dealer Rater for tools that make your managing your reputation and generating more good reviews easy as possible. I'm Frank J. Lopes, and this is Follow the Money. We keep your name clean, right? Help you keep your name clean so that you make everybody